So we find out that Venom is the source of all evil. Maybe if you're a DC fan, that's true. Or just don't like Sony.
Welcome to the heart of the stories we tell. My name is Rob, and tonight I will be reviewing
Episode 2 of Charmed, Let This Mother Out. And this show just doesn't quite have the exact charm of the original, but at the same time, isn't really that innovative either. I mean, there's a lot of shows on TV right now that are this type of urban fantasy. It needed something to stand out, and so far I'm not seeing it. And that's a little disappointing. But this is also still episode 2, which for all intents and purposes is the first time we didn't have exposition shoved down our throat. But at the same time, we still did. We're still learning who everyone is. Speaking of who everyone is, for those of you that don't know, what I do here is I review stories like this. I come up with theories on how and why we tell stories, and in general, I try to get to the bottom of how and why we tell stories. So in this case, I'm examining why we're rebooting Charmed. If that seems interesting to you, click subscribe and join our little community. But okay, so first things first. No white light, but they're called white lighters. Still weirds me out. But okay, we got our first real comment last week for this video series, and it's from Unicorn Lord. Cool name, by the way. And they point out that traditionally, Ouija boards are possessed by demons, which, spoiler alert, it ended up being. But I don't know, I was kind of hoping there'd be more to it and it would be more drawn out. It seems like each week the episode is going to lead us into the next monster of the week a little, but still be pretty much self-contained. And that's an interesting way of going. It's a little different than the Supernatural formula, or the old Buffy one. But at the same time, I don't know, I'm still just... this hasn't quite gelled yet. But let's throw this up there and get started.
So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time.
So the Ouija board was possessed by a doppelganger, a demon capable of possessing and recreating an illusionary version of someone you love or care about. And that does lead me to a funny story that I hopefully will have time to before the end of this review. But in general, the special effects were actually really good, and that's the one thing I'm going to give this show. I really liked the creature coming out of it, and I really liked everything dealing with the Mirrorverse. The idea of a secret world hidden behind a mirror is nothing new, and at the same time isn't exactly something that is innovative of its own, but I liked how it was used here. And that's saying a lot, because I've seen this type of effect in TV shows and movies before. But in general, the idea of using it to hide something and only you together can leave, meaning probably that they needed to use the power of 3, even if they weren't calling on it. My mother pointed out the fact that they didn't use the phrase that she thought they would. Power of 3, let me free. Power of 3, let me free. But that's okay. Because again, this is a new and creating a new mythology. A new universe. And I'm willing to give them that. But at the same time, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like they're doing much with it. Like, I still want to know why they're called white lighters. When, in the original series, it made perfect sense. The healing had a white glow, the orbing had a white glow. They were white light. And the white lighter is still throwing out a bunch of political jabs. And it felt a little more forced. Oh, I bet that's why Brexit. Presidential tweets. Alright, come on. I get it. You guys don't like the way politics are going. But if you're going to write it, at least try not to do it ham-handedly. Credit where credit is due. The idea of the Book of Shadows being a magical Siri that turned to the right page when they needed it was an interesting one. And that one almost felt good. And the fact that she used the mirror on her cell phone was a nice techno trick. The powers in general actually play a pretty big role in tonight's episode. Specifically, what it means to get to the truth of something. Now, we have a truth serum, and we have a telepath who's learning exactly what her boyfriend thinks. And just on a personal note, may I add, the idea of me knowing exactly what my girlfriend's thinking when I'm having sex with her is scary on multiple levels. The idea of her knowing what I'm thinking about while we're having sex is a horror that I don't even want to comprehend. And the truth serum being given to the wrong person was a little yuck, okay, standard comedy thing, especially for a rom-com. So, I'll give it to them, though, that at least created some interesting drama in the meantime. Because you know what didn't have interesting drama? The question I asked last week, can we trust Harry? That was resolved way too easily in this very next episode, and by the way, was the boring answer. Oh, nope, demon possession. I was kind of hoping for a little bit of shades of Grey in this mirrored world of Charmed. Unfortunately, they went with the easy answer. And I understand that, for episode 2, maybe they needed an easy monster to fight. But at the same time, there's so much you can do with playing with points of view. And, well, from my point of view, Harry's the bad guy. He killed my mother. But from another point of view, he did it to save the world. So it was a hard choice. And my mother pretty much let him so that our powers would have given them a little bit of shades of gray. A parallax view. Now, at the same time, I understand that maybe they didn't want to go that route. They wanted it to be more clean cut. But again, that meant that the drama of, is this really the mother? No, of course it's not. It was too easy if it was really the mother. We pretty much knew from the moment the truth serum joke happened, if not then at least when she popped out of the Ouija board, that this wasn't really her. And that felt a little anticlimactic. Like, we had a whole week to think about what did this mean, and it basically came down to, nothing. Now, there were other good and bad parts of the episode. I did like the fact that the three of them had to come together and work together and figure out how they're thinking. And I loved the fact that they had to come up with the fact that it's not just 2 beats 1. We need to all be on the same page. We need to work together. Power of 3 isn't the power of who has the most votes. It's a power of consensus. It's a power of us working together and all coming together, bringing our uniqueness together. And I liked that. And again, there's a lot of potential, especially with this whole prophecy and the whole ancient evil returning. There's a lot going on here. And now we have the Harbinger, which is what I joked about being the Venom symbiote. And it tried to bond to one person and couldn't, and then at the end it bonded to the woman that the fraternity, whatever it was, wanted. But Harry already knows about it. And now he's going to start training them on how to use their powers. And let's be honest, we're kicking this way off. And I'm curious to see where they go with this source of all evil. So back near the top of this, I mentioned the word doppelganger and the funny story I wanted to tell. Okay. So, in Dungeons & Dragons, one of the role-playing games I play, there's a creature called a doppelganger that works a lot like this demon. It can take your form, and with it, it can use telepathy to either steal your thoughts when it kills you to replace you, or to read the surface thoughts of everything around you, around it, so that it can fit in. And as such, there's this going joke that I think started in a webcomic, but I can't find it no matter how hard I search, called the Doppelganger Test. Hey, I don't trust that you're really you, so Doppelganger Test. Tell me something only you know. Except the Doppelganger would know the answer because it would know my answer, and it would... So there's no way to pass the test. Just kill you. You're a Doppelganger. And that's exactly what happened tonight. We had a bunch of... It gave you the answer you were looking for, but it couldn't improvise on its own. And when it tried to, it ended up doing something, acting in its own nature instead of the nature of the person it was impersonating. Just a little food for thought, if you ever think someone's been replaced by a pod person. But remember last week I told you that I was waiting to hear what the women in my life that liked the original series thought? Well, my girlfriend was a little on the ropes, and my mom pretty much thinks that they added nothing to it by updating. She'd rather watch DVDs of the original series. So now I'm left here sitting there and going, there's a lot of potential here. But now this leads to my question to you guys. Do you see something here, something innovative enough, something different enough, that warrants why they created this? Why redo it? Are they improving in any way, shape, or form, other than special effects that I'll give them? let me know in the comment section. And then, like every other YouTuber, I'm going to ask you to like and share. Subscribe if you haven't already. And, of course, if you love me, you could always give me money at Patreon. And a big shout-out thank you to Douglas, who was my first Patreon. But even if you can't, just the comments, just talking about what's the good and the bad of this, helps me figure out what you're thinking and how this influences your thought processes. And that helps us get a little bit closer to the heart of all the stories we tell. I hope you have a good night, and thanks for watching.